Welcome to our weekly Q&A show where we answer submitted questions live on YouTube on Tuesdays at 2 p.m.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our weekly Q&A show where we talk about answer questions. We just answer questions that we get. We get them through email and Facebook and a bunch of different ways. And I want to really urge everybody out there, if you can, go to whitewaterguidebook.com. And I'll put it in here on the website. We have a place here where you can ask a question or comment. So if you want your question answered on the show, this is the best way to do it. I don't usually always check Instagram comments and Facebook comments and questions, and I accidentally run into those. But if you want your question answered, I would highly recommend doing it through there. And also, we have a new rafting forum right here that nobody's even used. There's a general rafting questions section. You have to sign up, what you can do right here under rafting forum, hit register. That's a great way to have your question. What's up, Aaron? You made it.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost track of time. Actually, can you give me a minute to hop? I'll be right back in a second.
How do I hide you? Oh, he's audio off. Anyway, I highly recommend going through Whitewater Guidebook. We're trying to combine the Gear Garage efforts with the Whitewater Guidebook efforts just to streamline all of our emails and conversations. And if you want your question answered quickly, this is a great place to do it. And maybe we'll take questions from here and put them in the show. But I'd highly encourage people to do it. A lot of people sign up for the forum. Nobody's actually used it. I put a ton of effort into making this thing, and I would love to see somebody using it just to see that it actually works correctly. So, yeah, cooler update. So, man, that's a good question. Thanks for bringing that up. So I was just gone for 4 days. And so unfortunately, like right before I left, it was finishing up and I had to go to Grants Pass to do some work. And so when I got back, the one that we drained the cooler is out of ice. And the one we didn't drain is in a bathtub of cold water. And so I'll do a video today. But as we did it, we learned, like, it's like a lot of things with Gear Garage. We do something, we learn about it, and then we try something else. And so we bought some temperature sensors halfway through the experiment that we're really excited to use. And we're going to get some water temperature sensors too and redo the experiment from scratch. So I'll do a kind of a closure episode tonight, try to upload it today if I can. And then we're going to repeat it. And a lot of people have left comments like, what about this? What about that? And Aaron was even saying the coolers are probably a little different. So we're going to change things up a little bit on the experiment. So that's where we're at on the cooler update. The bottom line is, the quick update is that one cooler is 59 degrees and it has water in it. And one cooler is like 61 degrees and it has no water in it. That's kind of where we're at. But we actually learned a lot. And you're muted right now, Aaron, if you want to make some slight comments.
But they're only 2 degree difference
right now. Yeah. Hey, temperature. It's air temperature, which is taken halfway up the cooler. So like one cooler has no ice in it and it's still 61 degrees and it's like 63, 65 degrees out there. And then the cooler has water in it halfway up. And so we realized with the coolers, we should be measuring air temperature the whole time and we should be measuring water temperature. And that's actually pretty interesting because I think 45 degrees is sort of the key temperature. We want to keep our food below 45 degrees. And so we want to, basically what we're trying to find out is what keeps temperature below 45 degrees. The answer is the ice lasted longer in the cooler with the water in it. We know that's a fact. That's actually, this experiment has been done before. The ice did last longer, although I was gone for 4 days. So I wasn't there when there was no ice in the drained cooler and ice still. And then I got back and they're both water. So I went on an unexpected trip to Grants Pass, who by the way, Aaron, I ran into Steve in Grants Pass.
Welch?
Yeah, I was getting a snack on my way out of town yesterday, and I just pulled into Ray's supermarket, and Steve just pulled in, and I was like, Steve, dude. So I got to catch up with Steve yesterday. So anyway, let's go on with the show. Thank you guys for the remind us about the cooler update. And with Whitewater Guidebook, you probably want to use it on a computer for now. I'm still working out the phone. The phone thing is, how it looks on a phone is not great. The navigation on the phone kind of sucks. But it's good to know that landscape mode, it works. But unfortunately, I'm still working on fixing that. Did someone actually see the ice in the drink cooler when it was? No, that's an assumption. But it's a pretty fair assumption. But that's why we're going to redo the whole thing with thermometers in there. There's no way. It's a fair assumption. It's colder in the undrained cooler right now. So the ice had to have last longer.
Yeah. That's colder in the undrained cooler right now because that water is keeping it colder, but doesn't mean that there was ice was all gone. Those are two separate things.
It is an assumption. Nobody saw it. Nobody was there. So so that's why we're gonna. I'm doing this like fun little gear garage thing, thinking I can just like make some videos and like do a basic experiment, and I'm getting nitpicked every possible way. So we're gonna get thermometers. We've already bought Bluetooth thermometers. We're gonna do the cooler experiment from scratch. Anyway, a lot of people are here to get their questions answered, not here us argue. So, you want to start getting the questions?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's start arguing about something else.
We can't argue too much today. I don't know if I have the energy to do it. It happened. It happened, Thomas.
Exactly. I agree, Thomas.
It happened. All right, here we go. And this is actually the question I most wanted you here for today, Aaron. Somebody wants to hire experienced guides to take their two friends and them out. They don't want to be reckless, but want to see the more extreme side of it. And this person's a certified diver since 98, so has a fair amount of water experience, just more salt water with minimal currents. Now, I want to give you some background. Aaron, somebody emailed me this question right here, and I responded. And so I'm curious what your response would be.
Well, I think the first thing is like you're looking for a company, not guides, right? You're looking for a company that has the right guides. It seems to me is like that's a critical differentiation. You can't just pay guides to take you out. And we kind of talked about that before with pirate and private trips and everything like that. So that's my first little.
You have to hire an outfitter. People consider guides and outfitters the same thing, but yeah.
Like so just to clarify,
you can't just call Aaron and be like, "Hey, Aaron, take me down to Class 5." Aaron has to be working for an outfitter that has license and insurance and permits and all the things.
Yeah, exactly. So, I've never dove, and so I don't know much about diving. I think you definitely have to have some coolness in the water to be a diver, but it's definitely a really different dynamic. And I'll say, there's a lot to take out of this. There's a lot of comments. Let's go from, we don't want to be reckless. I'm going to say most companies that run serious Class 5 are not reckless. It's kind of the opposite. I think there's a lot more recklessness on Class 3 rivers than there are on Class 5 rivers because you're not going to work a Class 5 river for very long if you're reckless. You're going to get hurt. And Class 5 is about being able to do something repeatable. So if you just want to have fun and go flip and stuff like that, go on a Class 3, 4 river or whatever and go with one of the reckless companies. But you don't want to be reckless, but you want to see the extreme side. So that's good. That's what Class 5 is. And then, but I'll say is, and I don't know how well divers swim, but if you're doing true Class 5, you need to know how to swim. And like when we're doing harder Class 5 rivers, there's like a swim test basically you have to pass. Typically, I find that people who do best are water polo players and surfers, people who spent time in a dynamic environment in the water. And can end up underwater, not controllably knowing when they're going to come up and just be able to relax and go with it and pop up. Swimmers sometimes do well, sometimes they don't. I don't know how divers would do, like with it exactly. So you're probably good though, because you like being in the water. How's it going so far? Any questions about anything I've said, Zach?
Well, I think the question is, if somebody wants to go see the more extreme side of rafting, what rivers would you push them to?
What rivers? Well, I think.
Or outfitters. Which rivers / river outfitters would you send them to?
What would you say? I'd say the Zambezi. Mm-hmm. If you want just big whitewater, big, huge, high volume whitewater, the Zambezi, the Futalefu in Chile, those are huge waves, big, huge, giant waves. I don't know. Are they still running stuff on the White Nile?
I think so.
Or is that all dammed now? I'm not sure. The White Nile used to have some big, high volume stuff too that's consistent. Outside of that, that's the big, huge, high volume waves. Like Grand Canyon's actually got some really fun ones too. But according to you, the Grand Canyon's Class 3.
So
but they're big fun waves. But people like big.
But they want to see the more extreme side of it. So I think that's important.
So that I would
people
say
want to see the more extreme side of rafting. Where would they go?
Zambezi, the Foo, Cherry Creek. I think the Forks of the Kern is a really cool run.
Yeah.
And then I've heard good things. What's that run on the East Coast? Why am I going to play the Upper Yakagani? I've heard good things about that. I've heard that's a lot of fun. The Upper Yak. And then I'll just put, our home river is pretty much what we call our home river. I'd say the Tuolumne high water is a really fun one. That's like these world-class rivers in terms of high volume rivers. If you can hit a year like this year where the snowpack is huge. So this is a great year to be asking this because a lot of runs that are usually class 4 are now going to be class 5. And I'd say like the Tuolumne this year is going to be a phenomenal year to do the Tuolumne.
The Tuolumne in the spring, like
June.
In April,
May, early June.
June is spring.
April
until June 21st.
Yeah, but not April. It won't be.
Don't go in July. Go while the water's melting. The snow's melting, assuming the snowpack continues. Right, that's a big assumption. We don't know. Snowpacks don't follow a straight line.
Andrew has a good point here. Just saw his comment. Cataract, when it's high water, is outstanding. The only problem is it's just a short stretch of rapids. So I mean, it's huge and phenomenal. And
if you can catch it at 50,000 CFS, that's not something you really plan on. And
this year they got a big snowpack, so there's a high probability.
But you have to know when it's melting. Do you go when do you book that? So you want 50,000 plus. But yeah.
Okay, so I've mentioned a bunch of rivers. So let's talk about a few more. If you want to go really extreme, I've heard really good things about the Aparimac in Pitaroo. That's a nice multi-day extreme class 5 run. And I think you can do the lower Black Canyon to do that too. Then it's even more exciting. I've heard that's a really neat trip. If you want something that's just full on and stupid, go down to the Franklin River in Tasmania. It's not so much class 5 rafting. It's like class 5 portages and lining, and the river comes up 20 feet in the night. And that's like just an extreme adventure. I would say if you want an extreme expedition, that's great. If you want fun waves and rapids, I wouldn't do that one so much. Zach, do you have any others that you can think of off the top of your head?
I mean, there's a bunch, but they're not reliable. I mean, there's stuff in Nepal that we could talk about. My assumption was they want to stay in the U.S. They don't want to go to the Merrimack in Peru. Peru has a bunch. There's a Merrimack, the Aparimac. There's the Colca, which I've done the Colca. You've done. There's like some class 5 stuff.
Cotahuasi. If you can go down there, go do the Cotahuasi.
Cotahuasi. There's all that stuff. But so I was assuming they were asking about the U.S. So my answer to them was, to see the most extreme rafting, I would recommend the Cherry Creek, because it's just like it's like the standard of class 5. It's like it is class 5. It's the most difficult thing, I think, that is commercially done responsibly. If it's more difficult than that, I don't think it can be done responsibly than Cherry Creek. And I also said, hey, it's because she was emailing me. Like I said, if you want to do something with us, the Illinois is a possibility. It's not the most extreme, but it is a very wild place, and it's a 4-day trip.
The Illinois is an extraordinary trip. That's a phenomenal one, and I think that's on my short list. The whitewater is always great on that trip. It's a really cool adventure. That's the closest. Like, it's not as screwed up as going down to the Franklin in Tasmania, but it's that type of remote adventure. I love. The Illinois is.
So my answer. My answer was Cherry Creek if you want to see the limit of what you can do commercially. But if you want to come with us, all we have to offer in that even close to realm is the Illinois. So then this was this person's response to me saying Cherry Creek, Illinois. Do you know if the Illinois River, the class 5 part, is significantly less intense than Cherry Creek?
Yeah, I'd say it's significantly less, but I would say that Illinois is way more of a rad trip. I mean, Cherry Creek's a rad trip, but Illinois is another level of rad because you're out there for 4 days in the wilderness. If you want a wilderness multi-day experience, I mean, you can do the Cherry Creek Main Tuolumne like as a 2-day trip, which I think is really cool. And you camp down the canyon. That's becoming a very popular trip. I think Cherry Creek is mind blowing. But if you've never been rafting before, in some ways, I'd say don't do Cherry Creek first because it
might blow your mind. It might.
Well, I don't think you have an appreciation for it. Like, my favorite people to take down were guides, because guides have done a lot of rivers and they come up there and they're just like, wait, what are we doing? But again, this is what we're going to do. So if you guys go to Cherry Creek first, it's like, can you really appreciate the best gourmet meal ever if you've never had a meal before in your life?
It's like people that come and do the Middle Fork of the Salmon with us, their first trip ever, and they're like, what's next? I'm like, you kind of did it. It's not. You're not going to find a better trip.
Yeah, yeah. Just like I would not put the Middle Fork and the salmon in the same category. Zach.
Well, no, not for class
That's
5. But
between-
like if you bring your family, the average person who doesn't want the class 5, the average person that just wants a great multi-day trip, if they do the Middle Fork as their first multi-day trip, I'm like, you kind of did it. There's a few. I mean, the Subway's good, and of course, like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah, no, I would not put
But-
the Middle Fork in the same category because the Illinois. I mean,
the Illinois is not like you don't like the Middle Fork to me is like a great trip. You can bring friends and family. You're not going to be
It's a
scared.
really nice trip.
You're not going to be. It's not one where you're scared. You're going to like get to camp, have a nice night, go hiking, drink some wine, have some nice dinner. The Illinois is more of an expedition, so it is a different category. But I'm just saying, if you did Cherry Creek first, the same way, you're kind of spoiled. Like no other class 5, you've just done it. You're like, yep, nothing else is going to be exciting. In terms of answering the class 5 part of the Illinois, which there's one rapid on the Illinois, I would call class 5 Greenwall. I would say that the Greenwall is like an average Cherry Creek rapid.
I would say, yeah, I wouldn't even. It's not even. Yeah, one of the bigger
There's like the big name rapids on Cherry Creek, like Mushroom, Toadstool, Lewis's Leap.
even say Jawbone.
Jawbone's easier than Greenwall.
In a kayak, yeah, but no, not in a raft. A raft, Jawbone's way harder.
I mean, you just hit that wave and you just hit the wave and you surf over. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. But maybe like Corkscrew or those things. Maybe there's like, let's say there's like 6 or 7 rapids on Cherry Creek that are harder than Greenwall. But everything in the Miracle Mile, like if you break up everything in the Miracle Mile,
Coffin Rock is really hard too.
Coffin, yeah, it's not that hard. The one with Unknown Soldiers.
That's the only place. That Coffin Rock's the only place I flipped up there.
Really, Unknown Soldier, I'd say is a bit harder than. But anyway, Greenwall.
Unknown Soldier's easier, but you're a kayaker. You're not a rafter.
No, in a rafter, I think it's harder.
When it comes to Cherry Creek, you're a kayaker. You kayaked it way more than you rafted it.
But I feel like rafting, you have to get to that channel and then make that quick turn down that drop. If you don't have
to turn. You just people actually turn too much. That's where they do like a downshift.
Yeah, never.
You're almost better off going up an angle.
To me, in a raft, Unknown Soldier was always harder. In a kayak, it's just a big fun booth. But anyway, I would say Greenwall is like the hardest rapid on the Illinois is maybe like an average or maybe slightly below average Cherry Creek rapid.
It's a different category.
Different style for sure.
But that's insane. I think the Illinois is how do I say this? Like, I mean, I love going to doing Cherry Creek, and I've worked up there, and I've spent a lot of days up there, and I've spent a fair amount of time in the Illinois. But I think they're both special. But yeah, if you're going from a long ways, like if you're traveling from a ways, I would say I would probably do the Illinois first, and then I'd go to Cherry Creek afterwards. Like the next year, and Cherry Creek. The other thing too is Cherry Creek's going to run every year because it's dam release. You have to wait. This year is going to be a tough year for Cherry Creek because you're going to have to wait till like August for the water to drop. Maybe July,
depending on how the snowpack ends up. It's only February, and it cannot rain again.
February, but it's already as of the April 1st average, it's 140% of normal.
Yeah, it still end up at 60%.
It could, but
don't tell people to sign up for trips quite yet because they can sign up and then be disappointed.
But I'm just saying this is a tougher year for Cherry Creek. There's a way higher probability this year than most years that Cherry Creek is not going to come in until later on in the summer this year. So that's the other problem with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think
that being said, Zach, I would say the Forks of the Kern is an outstanding run as well. And now the Class 5 on the Forks of the Kern isn't like Cherry Creek Class 5, but that's a gorgeous run. You got to hike.
Would you say the Forks is easier or harder than the Illinois?
I think it's harder.
Yeah, it's definitely harder. I think there's 3 rapids I'd call Class 5, and there's like 40 Class 4s. There's so much class. It's shorter. It's 18. Isn't it like 18? It was like 22 miles or something. It's short.
It's not. It's shorter. Yeah,
it's nonstop.
It is just phenomenal. And the visual scene, the scenery is just stunning.
I mean, the Illinois has the scenery too. It's different. I mean, the Forks of the Kern has the granite scenery. The Forks of the Kern has a 2-mile hiking, which is not for everybody. So anyway, we answered that question very thoroughly. And then next is this is the part I really want. So once I get this question, I'm like, this has got to go to the Q&A, and Aaron's going to answer this.
How do we think Greenwall compares to Terminator and Chile?
I think that's what we're. Yeah, I think that's what we're. I think we're comparing.
I'm going to say this about Terminator is like Terminator is one of those. It's like I hate to do a comparison to running Crystal Rapid, but it's not a really fun rapid to run in a way. It's not like an exciting one, and you're hitting big waves. You're like kind of sneaking along the left, come out, and then sneaking back to along the left to try to avoid all the huge stuff. Now that it's lower, they're probably getting out in the middle more because the water's lower. But back when I was working it, Terminator was it wasn't. I'd say Terminator was harder, but I think Greenwall is more fun. It's a more of a fun, interesting rapid.
It's low fun, high consequence. Would you say that about Terminator? Low fun, high consequence.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you would.
I mean, it's a gorgeous spot. It's a tough rapid. You're psyched to get through it. As a guide, it was fun navigating it. It was challenging, but I think it's definitely a step up. The Terminator is like technical big water, basically, is what I would say. It's technical big water, and Terminator is a great rapid. But I wouldn't say Terminator was my favorite rapid to run down. Like Casa de Piedra is just a gorgeous, fun rapid. That's a really fun one. I like that one a lot. I think the canyon at the top, if you can run that, that canyon at the top is amazing. Inferno Canyon. That's got some great rapids in there as well. I mean, the Foo is phenomenal. Like it's on the short list for a reason. That's why when we talked about it, I named that's one of the first ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to the original question, if you're willing to travel outside the U.S., I think doing the Foo is a great way to see the extreme side of it. That's a great. To Aaron's original answer, the first thing you thought of was like the Foo and Zambezi. Seeing that big water, but they're different. They're like I said, they're big volume, big waves, and you can be like as long as you're within like a lot of times like a 10 or 20 foot area, you're gonna make the line. It's just really big volume. Where like Cherry Creek is very precise. You need to be within a foot or two of your line. So instead of it being like the Foo and the Zambezi, big volume, big waves, big hits, unpredictable waves, you just have to get close to your line. Cherry Creek in Illinois at like normal flows is more like technical, go over a drop, make a maneuver, go over a drop. So they're very different style.
Yeah, I mean, I'll also say too is the problem with the Foo and the problem with the Zambezi, you can do more of a multi-day, but the whitewater is only really that beginning stretch. Is it's a short stretch of river, the Foo, and so they break it up and you do certain sections multiple times and everything like that. But it's not like the classic river trip where you're moving downstream each day, camping, going downstream camping. I loved working down there. I love the river. It's phenomenal. But if you're looking for that type of experience, you're not getting that there. It's a base camp, more type of situation where you're going from like, you're not just like packing all your stuff up and you really can't on that river because the rapids are so big. You're not taking gear boats going down it anyways, but it's not that long of a stretch.
I Google mapped it once. It was like 12 miles.
Yeah.
The whole like upper and lower Foo is like 12 miles. It's shockingly short. It's shockingly short, Aaron.
It's longer than that, but
Google map it. Dude, like the bridge to bridge was like 4 miles. It doesn't seem like it when you're there, but I was shocked it was only 4 miles, bridge to bridge.
Are you talking about the road or the river? Because the road's a lot shorter.
I followed the river with on Google Earth. I followed it, and it was shockingly short. Let's get to some questions and we'll move on. We have a lot to do today, and I want to get to everybody's questions. Todd likes the idea of being able to hire a group for your own group, not have a part of an outfitter's trip with other groups. Yeah, unfortunately, Todd, like that sounds awesome. Like it'd be super cool if you could hire Aaron Cavagnolo to take you down some badass things. It's just with permits and insurance and licensing, it's not possible. Like you can do it illegally, but there's a lot of issues with hiring somebody just to take you down like that. And if you wanted to hire an outfitter like us to take you down like the Illinois, it would be really expensive for us to do. It's actually when you do the math for all the stuff we have to do to make it happen, we have to charge.
So we need like the libertarians to take over, make everything just like no, but that'd be a mess too. Then there'd be way too many people on the rivers.
Well, there would be. I mean, outfitters couldn't stay alive because if you had to like make a living on people like Todd, there's only like not that many people. Actually, I mean, Todd. Some people want this.
But back in the day, I don't totally agree because back in the day when Dick and Joe started, that's what they were basically doing. they were driving. They had their van. They were driving around doing trips with people in different rivers, and people would pay them to go take them out down different rivers.
But they were selling a trip, like, hey, like here's a trip where there's room for 20. You guys, you two go, you two go, you two go, you two go. What Todd wants to do is like him and 3 buddies or something.
No,
like
I got that.
Be guided down
saying
in their tap boat somewhere.
No, but yeah, I agree. But I'm saying you could do both. Like if the government allowed it, I could start a company doing that right now.
But there's not many people like Todd. There's not.
No, but I could also have groups that be like, hey, bring a group of a few different people together. Like Todd may be like, oh, that's too spinny. I'm like, all right, well, I'll hook you up with this other group, and the 6 of you will go together, and we'll do a trip with you guys, which is basically the same thing. But instead, he wants to choose a person to take him on the river versus go choose an outfitter that runs that river. And those are two different things.
Yeah. Like it would be really fun as a guide. Like, let's go run this, and this. But you would have
my sweet rig. Yeah. And just drive around and be like, all right, we're going up to Alaska now. We're going to go run this.
There's not a lot of talk. I mean, people want, like a set date, the set crew, like everything being the same. The normal commercial guest wants that. There's not a lot of people who are private boaters who know what they're doing, who want to be guided, and not enough to make a business out of it.
There is enough.
Hey, I know, Aaron, I have people that do our class 3 schools that are like, would you guide me somewhere else? I say no to people all the time. I know there is a need. There's not enough to make it a business.
No, there is enough to make it a business. It's just not the structure. I disagree. It's just there's the structures in place is keeping these rich outfitters with their permits and not letting us little guys get in there. And we have to buy one of your companies for $2 million to run a couple of trips. So, I mean, that's a
lot of exaggeration.
I know a little bit. The
middle of Hawaii is cool. It's got 1 class 5+ that's a portage and like 3 class 4s. A lot of flat water. So much flat water. I'm not sure I would call that the cutting edge of rafting. It's a beautiful canyon, but I wouldn't call it like the cutting edge.
Would you do the Jarbidge and the Bruno over the middle of Wahi?
Oh, yeah. Of course. Upper Golly's cool. I'd call it like 4+ in this day and age. Upper Yacht, I've never done.
Maybe 4+.
I'll call it 4+. But Upper Yacht, they're advanced. Yeah, we can call them advanced, but like Cherry Creek blows them away. And Cherry Creek it makes these two look like child's play. It's a whole other thing. Uber, that'd be fun if we're just like, hey, we want to go do this river. Call us and we'll go with you. I mean, we kind of do that.
An Uber app.
I mean, I do a little bit of this now because there's rivers here in Hood River that aren't permitted. So, like in like a week, I have somebody coming for 3 days, and we're gonna go do 3 days of boating, just me and him, like a private thing. And so I already do some of this now. It's just
what's the difference between that and like the Middle Fork of the Feather? Why can you
public lands versus private land? This isn't
all private land. Private land.
All private land. Yep, private. Okay. Is all like here in Hood River. Like there's a bunch of rivers that flow through private land, and so you can do whatever you want commercially. And so, but like most of the really great rivers you would want to do are on public land. Like going to California, everything wonderful is on public land because it's protected. It has been protected, so it's still good and has access. Aaron gets it. Oh, Aaron, Todd, I get it too. I just
there's
not a business model there for it.
I'm going to say this: there is a business model. The problem is the way the government's set up. But I'm also going to say this: if I were Zach and I'd spent all this money and all this money on these permits, I would be sweating a lot right now when we start talking about just getting rid of that system and just making free for all because it would just undercut them.
No, I mean, if we got rid of the current system and change it to like where you just can do whatever you want to and you hire a guide, that would put me out of business for sure. But I know the economics behind it. I know like outfitters can exist based on having some sort of we can exist and be businesses that take people on our public lands because we know we have access on certain dates. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Like we need some sort of reliability. If I'm just like in my office waiting for Todd Hoffman to call every year, like I can't justify like.
Yeah, you can. That's the problem is if you could go anywhere you want whenever you wanted, Zach.
It would depend on Todd. It doesn't. No. It's.
I have to wait. Depends on Todd.
I have to wait for Todd to call me and say, "Hey, I want to."
Why do you have to wait for Todd to call? You already got thousands of people calling you a year. You can take them.
I don't have thousands, but I don't have. There's not
thousands. 1,000. You have 1,000 people calling you a year.
Aaron, I'm just saying. I already do. I don't argue with you today. I'm just saying I already do this to a point, and it's challenging. Let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that. I can go into this another time. We can argue about this another time.
Yep.
Virtual guiding via sap fun would be interesting. Like, hey, more left.
I agree, Todd. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, a good example.
The way it's still it's an arcane system. It's set up back in the day when people didn't own their own rafts. They didn't know how to raft on their own. There's a lot of people who do it themselves now, and there needs to be a way for there needs to be a separate industry for like you want to go take your boat down the Tuolumne River, for example, Todd, and you want someone to lead you down it. There needs to be a way to hire someone to do that. I agree. I think that's it's a shame.
There needs to be a way. I don't know, but
I think one launch a day. And you can get certified. You can bring someone or whatever, and you can apply, get the permit for that. And if you win the permit, then you choose the person you want to take you down, or maybe you just get your private permit. You can choose to have someone lead you down. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I think I don't know about this.
There's a lot of unused. There's a
unused allocation.
There's a lot of unused allocation on the Tuolumne right now.
I mean, there is a way. Actually, there is a way to do this that the Forest Service could employ if they wanted to. They just haven't chosen to. Like, they're allowed to give out temporary use. The Forest Service in every district, like unused use, they're able to like pull away from outfitters and give away as temporary use. They just haven't gotten to that. But still, like whoever that person is still has to have licensing and insurance, and it makes it hard. And a great example of where this would be great would be the South Fork of the Salmon. Like, let's say some people want to book the South Fork of the Salmon to hire Aaron to kind of like, let me help you guys figure out some of the lines and give you advice.
Yeah, like, but they don't have a. That's an interesting one, the South Fork of the Salmon, but they don't have any commercial structure on there at the moment.
They don't, but like that's one where like I think people would appreciate hiring a guide. I think that's where someone where like I think that'd be a great use of that, is to have somebody who knows the run really well. They can like help people get down that river and people get paid as a guide. We got to move on. We have so many questions, but this is a fun discussion. Okay, let me get rid of this one and move on. Okay, we got that. Okay, Wing Cat. Wing told me they could go to 22.5-inch tubes with no additional design fees, so I'm happy there. Just curious how you would compare to the Legend. So if you don't know already, I designed the Wing Cat, so I can tell you all about it. Let me bring it up here on the internet so we can see it. So, and they only have one Cataract. It's an 11-footer. And this one here was designed sort of after a Legend. There's a specific Legend. And if people don't know, the Sotar Legend is an amazing Cataract. And the Legend, there's an 11-foot Legend designed by Dave Nissen that has a longer waterline. He calls it the Creeker. And it's amazing. That 11-foot Legend is awesome. This wing is based on that. And it has a really long waterline, which I think you want on cat boats. Cat boats that have a lot of rocker are just too twitchy and spinny, especially at the 11, whatever this is. This is 11 foot, 11 foot. Especially the 11-foot length, you want that long water line. So I would say it's very comparable to the Legend. It doesn't look like it has as much upturned rocker as the Legend. It has a little bit less, but it's actually pretty close. If you put them side by side, it's actually pretty close because the ends aren't pointy. If you can see, I don't know if you can see it right here. There's like kind of a blunt tip instead of a pointy tip on the ends, so it doesn't look as like elf shoed as the Legend. So it's pretty close to the Legend, but specifically the one that Dave Nissen spec'd out that has a long water line. To me, it looks like the Legend has a tad more rocker. Yeah, exactly, because the Dave Nissen one I think is superior, has a longer water line, my preference having a 12-foot 6-inch, I'd want to have less for more contact with the water. Yep. It doesn't surf, like more rocker is going to help you surf, but for running whitewater, if you want to maintain a line, that you want that long water line. We'd love to hear your thoughts, experience with the cats. This photo we're looking at right now is of my boat. Actually, I run. I love it. It's awesome. I can't recommend this boat enough. It's sweet.
Are you talking about that little cat?
A little cat, yeah.
I don't like it.
Why don't you like it?
I don't know. I just didn't like it.
Oh, did you run it?
Yeah, I did. I ran it for a little bit. I'd rather have a little raft, actually. I mean, it's easier to carry around.
Aaron, we're not talking about rafts. We're talking about cats. The topic is cats.
I'm just saying I'd rather row a little raft than a little cat. I don't know why. I just don't like the little cats that much. I like bigger cats on big water. I just don't like cataracts on technical water, I guess. I just don't like the way they pivot and hit rocks. And maybe I just haven't done enough of it, but I don't like cats on low water.
It depends what you're doing, of course. If I want to have an easy day on the wind, I take the cat. It's very forgiving. It's easy. But I've been rafting the wind a lot more, rowing the wind with the raft a lot more. I've been having more fun. So I agree with you. But if I'm going to go run like the Green Truss and a cat, if I'm going to raft the Green Truss with oars or something really hard, I'm going to want a cat over a raft.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Sean, I think I got it back up there. It's up there now, right? It's a sweet boat. I highly recommend this boat, and I have it here. I'm going to run it this spring. The only thing I don't like about it, if you look at, I wonder if I make this picture bigger somehow. Anyway, if you look at where the D rings are, see how the D rings are pointed in 45 degrees. Can you see that, Aaron? Like the D rings aren't straight up and down. It's hard to see with this thing, but I wish see how my frame straps come straight down.
Yeah.
And they're not the end of my frame. Like I think they put. I wish they had the D rings further out on the boat. So like, I helped them design the boat. They placed where the D rings go, and I think for most frames, their D ring placement needs to be wider. So if you ordered one from them, make sure your D rings are longer than the length of your frame. But, and I think, and this one has 21-inch tubes. And what Homeboy is saying here is he wants 22.5-inch tubes. Not sure why, but yeah, cool. All right, want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, I'm 54, new to ducking, just bought a Star Viper, and I'm looking for a good PFD and helmet to purchase. I'll probably get 10 to 15 days a year when traveling to get there. To get where? I went to Costa Rica last summer, did a week course in it, and I'm pretty hooked going again this summer with my own gear. We'll be doing class 2 and 3, not ready for 4, and I'm not in a hurry to get there as I want to get comfortable in 2 and 3 and find plenty. That's what I was thinking. Cool. I used an NRS Ninja last time I went, and it was comfortable and held me up in a couple of swims, but not sure what quality and price point I should be seeking. Same for helmet. So I think he's just asking for like what's a good PFD in the helmet for a ducky. And
how big? Do you see how much he weighs?
No, 54. All we know is age. So NRS Ninja. Hey, by the way, before we talk about NRS for the bazillionth time on the show, I want to remind everybody of our sponsor. You know who our sponsor is, Aaron?
Headwear Gear or something like that. What's it called?
It's called riverhardware.com, where River Hardware, we sell things like throw bags and cups and shirts and books about rafting in Russia, and use Sawyer Cobra spinnies. For more information, go to riverhardware.com. All right. NRS Ninja. That could be you, NRS, getting that beautifully done advertisement. PFD. Okay. So this is the NRS Ninja. What do you think?
How much flotation? You know me.
I'm some of the NRS ones have more than the basic.
Yeah, scroll down and just see how much it has.
Specs 16.3 pounds of flotation.
Yeah, and what kind of runs is he going to do?
Class 2 and 3.
It should be fine. I mean, I'd rather have a higher flotation vest, and I'd recommend a 22-pound flotation vest just because your butt's not getting the rocks as much and everything like that. But that looks really comfortable.
In a ducky, I mean, would you wear the NRS guide vest?
Ducking? I know. That's a good question.
Big water guide. It'll cost a little bit more, but it's got that flotation, and it looks cool.
I don't like all the new stuff they added to it. More stuff to get caught on things.
Like what?
They increased the price of it a lot, and they just made it worse.
Hey, the price of everything on NRS has gone up.
Yeah, but they added stuff that makes it more expensive, like sewing all those little hooks in with a little piece of material. Like it doesn't make it better. And like, okay, cool,
What
you got
hooks?
the reflective strip, the little clips on the front, those little. What do you clip to those?
Yeah,
What do
but
you
that's
clip
by
to?
well, they're
Yeah,
for.
but what's up? I'm asking you this. What's the purpose of those?
It's I think the purpose is they're trying to sell this to rescue people,
Fishing.
like rescue.
No, not rescue.
No, those clips are so people can have. Oh no, I guess this doesn't have. Can this one have a rescue belt?
No.
It's not for fishing. Like, what does it say? Does it
Yeah.
say what they're for? 8 adjustment points. No, zipper pockets. Purposefully placed lash tabs. Oh, that's for the rescue knife. No, that's not it. Webbing tab for a whistle. Mole leg strap. It doesn't say what it's for. I mean, it costs like
that's for a whistle. That's for a whistle, and that's just.
Oh, hey, come on, that's not bad.
Yeah,
actually, it's pretty bad. It's terrible.
It's right in a spot where you're trying to.
Wait, you think those plastic things are for the whistle?
Yeah, I think that's what they call them. Yeah. Where's the whistle tab then? Where do you tie the whistle off then? Show me where the whistle tab is.
Wait, where is that part? Webbing tab on user's right secures. That's on the user's right. So somewhere over here, there's on the. They're not. This one's on both sides. There's a spot. I don't know. It probably cost 20 cents to add those. They're like plastic and just one.
And then what's the other stuff down below it? That black stuff down below it. That's for like
that's
hooking
cool.
your. No, you know what that's for? That's for
it's
hooking
like
your fishing things.
Or other just stuff. Why not?
Yeah, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Doesn't
It creates
cost that
drag,
much.
and it's encouraging people to clip stuff to the front of their vest, which is not good.
Yeah.
And did they get rid of the little? Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay. Let's get back to the questions because we don't have all day. Oh yeah, those are called. I call those nipple rings on a show.
Yeah, the nipple rings. Yeah,
nipple rings.
Yeah.
I ordered one of these. They're back ordered, but I got one coming so I can test it out. But so getting back to the
nipple. As soon as I got mine, I cut off the nipple rings.
Yeah, you void the warranty. Good job. Smart.
Well, that's the thing is it makes it more dangerous. So you got to cut it off to make it safer.
It's not more dangerous, Aaron. What do you need? A stick stuck in that?
I got a question for you. We're talking. Hold on. Let me break some. I got a question for you. Hold on.
Jeez. All right. Let's get back. While Aaron's goofing off, we'll get back to this. I'm gonna say.
Since we're talking about life jackets, I just got this life jacket from my daughter. This Stolquist one, and it's like super cheap. But look at these you tighten these down right here. See that? Like pull them that way. Yeah. And she could just like loosen them with her hands really easily versus the ones on the sides, She just put it on the other day and she just like loosened it up. And I was like, yeah, that's not good. So I'm not sure. Overall, I really like the vest. I'm not too worried because it's got the crotch strap.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't like how she just touches it and it just loosens really easily. I kind of like the way regular vests tighten on the back with that other type of thing, and they're more snug. I don't think this is good.
Can we get back to this guy's question?
So, and then second thing, what do you think about this?
Terrible, but you can cut that off. That's awful.
Would I be worried? Would I be the warranty would be voided if I cut it off? Then Zach,
I cut it off anyway. I mean that is actually. I mean. I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, are you taking your daughter on like a sailing ship where you might want to like grab her and pull her in? Well, or are you taking her to like Cherry Creek where that is actually a danger? Is that a whitewater vest?
We'll hopefully get a permit on the road for the summer. That's the idea.
Cut it off. I wouldn't do it on the road, but I don't. Is that PFD designed for whitewater?
Well, I mean, it's a Type 3.
Doesn't mean it's designed for whitewater.
How do you know if it's designed for whitewater? How can you tell?
I don't know. It says on the website, designed for whitewater. This one here. Oops, hold on. Let's go back to this. Sorry. I just streamed. Well, this one here probably somewhere.
It says for paddle sports. It says for paddle sports on there.
Okay, this one gives the NRS Big Water Guide PFD gives private and working boaters peace of mind in big water. Does that one say anything like that, or is it just like for paddle sports?
No,
paddle sports could be like a sup on a lake.
Yeah, no, it says for water sports. It says for paddle sports, towables, all sorts of stuff. It could be on a lake. Let's see what Stolquist says.
Okay, you know what? We're getting on a sidetrack. We have a lot of questions, Aaron. I'm gonna move on. A helmet. In my opinion, sweep protection is the best. I would get a nice sweep protection helmet. I mean, but just get what you can afford. NRS helmets I know people dispute that helmet study, But I think the NRS helmets did pretty well on the NRS study. So get an NRS helmet. They make a few different ones that I think are pretty good. Where do we go for helmets? I mean, if money's not an object, I would go with a Sweet helmet. Just get a nice whitewater Sweet helmet. But otherwise, I would go with like even this helmet is really good. Their like livery cheap helmet is actually a pretty decent helmet. It's comfortable enough. And then the more you spend, of course, probably the better you get. Hopefully, we answered that question. All right, can we move on? We have a lot to do. All right. Any thoughts on the Yeti Sidekick case? Looks like really quick access for a phone or camera. Also, you reviewed the Yeti Panga bags. They look great. Do you look backpack? Do you look at the backpack at all? Okay, so let's go Yeti. I don't think I know what the Yeti Sidekick is. Oh, these things. Some of my guides have these. Have you seen these, Aaron? This is like kind of the rage lately. Why can't I find Yeti's page? Oh, here we go. Let's have to click there. They're not waterproof, I don't think. Does it say waterproof? Oh yeah, Hydro Shield magnetic closure keeps your gear dry. So you can put stuff in there. Oh man. And a little magnet closure. It's kind of like a little ammo can. I think they're pretty cool. I've held them. They're cool. The magnet thing's cool. Yeah, they are waterproof as long as the magnet doesn't come undone. Yeah, these are cool. I'm not going to ever use one because I don't need a purse with me when I'm rafting. But if you needed a purse, I think this would be great. So what do you think, Aaron? Would you get the pink for your purse?
I wouldn't buy it, but anyways.
Okay. Yeah, that means Aaron doesn't spend $50 on things. Okay. So no. And then also you reviewed the Yeti Panga bags. I got a big Yeti dry bag. That's been pretty cool. Although since I've done the review, several people have told me those zippers break. And I don't want the zipper to break, so I'm a little worried. I did not look at the backpack, but maybe we can take a second to look at it here while we're on their site. I mean, I'm sure it's Yeti. I'm sure it's super, or I'm sure it's really cool backpacks. I'm sure it's high quality, really well thought out. Yeah, look at that. Aaron, would you buy one of those?
How much is it?
$300.
No, that's weird.
Would you buy this one?
How much is that one?
$200.
What is it? Waterproof or water resistant?
I don't think this one's waterproof. Actually, I don't know, but this one is for sure.
I mean, just get one of those cheap roll top backpack ones. All the kids around here use those cheap ones that cost you like $40 or something like that.
I have to say, after using some Yeti stuff this year and testing it out, like those handles on the side are bomber. Like you can,
but the zipper is gonna break. I'd rather have a roll top. It's safer.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Those zippers get jammed over time. It's just like, yeah.
And my zipper didn't break. A few people commented on my video that their zippers did break.
It's gonna break. See how big it is. You're putting torque on it.
I mean, Yeti will back it up. If your zipper breaks, I bet you in 20 years they will give you a new bag or fix it.
I bet
they've been really amazing with me. But I would say the problem is if you're in the Grand Canyon, like if my Yeti bag broke in the Grand Canyon on day 4, that would be a massive bummer. So it depends if you can use it. If you can use it walking around town and you can ship it back to Yeti when it breaks, you're good. But if your idea is to use this for a trek through the Amazon, I might go somewhere else. But yeah, they look cool. It's a lot of money, but I think you get what you pay for. You get a really nice backpack. There you go. Sean has one. He likes it. Oh yeah. I sent the Panga backpack back. The straps won't come off. Yeah. I mean, these aren't designed for rafting. Yeah. There's a lot of straps on dry bags and things that are entrapment hazards. So this isn't the only thing with entrapment hazards on it, but Yeti didn't design this with a backpacker in mind. They just made a waterproof backpack for people that have a lot of money and want the best. And it really, I have to say, people complain about how much money Yeti stuff costs, but it is actually probably the best. It's super high quality stuff. All right. Oh man, another Yeti one. What are your initial thoughts on the new Yeti Loadout Go Box 60? All right, what's a Yeti Loadout Go Box 60? Cargo. Is it storage? Yeti, here we go. What do you think, Aaron?
How big is it?
60. I'm guessing that means 60 liters. Complete your.
What are you going to do with it?
Oh, there's a video. Should we watch the video?
This is the newest and largest member of Box 60. Built for your longest trips and your largest gear.
I'm already bored. I'm guessing it's 60 liters. Yeah, where's all the information?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems nice. Yeah, I've seen some people carry some of those different size Yeti ones, but I mean, I think you got to keep the little seal. Make sure the seal's good on it. Don't screw up your seal.
Well, there's a GoBox 15. I mean, yeah, there's no good information. I don't see where I find.
Well, it seems like a nice piece. I don't know how it looks like it's really insulated, which it takes up a lot of space in my mind. It's not the most efficient, but
I just don't see where there's it has IP6, waterproof and dustproof rating. So that sounds, I don't know what that means, IP65 and 67, but that sounds good.
they look well made.
It requires a product to be dry 30 minutes after being submerged in 1 meter of water. That's cool. So it's waterproof. Sounds very waterproof.
Yeah, that doesn't sound that good.
It's submerged. Wait, name another dry box that is actually dry after being submerged.
Pelican case.
Okay. Which cost, does the Pelican case make a box like this for less expensive money, less money?
I don't know.
No.
You just asked me to name one.
Good job.
You know me, I don't spend money. So all the stuff's out of my price range.
Is this product a cooler? No, it is not designed to be used with food and drink. If you're in the market for a cooler, check out the coolers.
Yeah, Todd's not a fan.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I wonder how bomber it is. I mean, yeah. Here's the thing. Let's go back to just Yeti in general. My Yeti dry box leaked. Ooh, that hurts. I think it's 10. Yeah, nothing Yeti makes is designed for whitewater. Like
Exactly.
nothing. They're not thinking about you guys rafting. They're making stuff that's super high quality for people to put in their truck. There's no photos on this website of like rafters using it. This is homeboy with a jean shirt on. There's a guy in a truck.
It's supposed to keep it dry in the rain.
There's a fisher person. Or it could follow. There's another fisher person. There's a cowboy with an ATV. Like they're not thinking about rafting. You can submerge it, but like if you go buy those NRS dry boxes, this is way more dry than that. So, I mean, I would easily put my camp kitchen in here because who cares if that stuff gets
It
wet?
seems overkill for a camp kitchen, though.
I'd put bread in here too, probably. Like, man, those boxes we got, on the Grand Canyon, we had with a pro. I had those 2 side boxes next to me, and I had bread in one of them, and it was just like a piece of metal on metal. If we'd have flipped that bread, actually, we had a gearboat flip, and the bread got wet. I don't think the bread would get wet if this flipped in the gearboat. So for like, it might, but I doubt it. It's better than everything else. And that NRS dry box isn't even close to this dry. So this is, I bet you keeps your stuff pretty dry. And it's like everything from Yeti. It's probably really high quality. It's probably really well made. It's going to cost you a lot of money. Okay, hold on. Let's get to that. It's probably really well made. It's, people probably, and it probably doesn't sit in your raft exactly in the right place. It's not designed to sit in your 12-foot whatever, but it's a nice box and it is expensive. Yeah. But if you want the best quality stuff that's really well thought out, you got to pay money for it.
But I bet it's not going to be easy to open once in your boat. Just the way that the handles are, the way that the latches are on it. It's not going to open easy while it's on the raft and doesn't sit well in the frame. So it's I mean, it's fine. I think it's a really nice piece of gear. Ooh, there's the bucket.
There's the bucket. It's $40, by the way. Come on. And so getting back to another thing is, when you
plus
have
tax
Yeti,
and shipping.
When you have Yeti stuff, you have people err and call you a rich outfitter all the time. Like that's the one thing about a Yeti stuff is if you want like have people think that you're wealthy and successful, you get the Yeti stuff because they're like, whoa, man. So if I was like an insurance salesman, I'd want people to think I'm successful. I'd have all this stuff. But I think a lot of people are embarrassed when they have Yeti. If I see another guy have a Yeti something.
It's like driving a Range Rover.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, that's nice. Where'd you get that? Oh, I paid. I got pro deal. Or like, oh no, I got this used. Like nobody will admit to paying full price for a Yeti. They want to make sure that we don't think they're wasting their money on rich person stuff. But I mean, if you're soured by the bucket, then don't buy it. Like, I don't know. This is a really nice bucket. I mean, buckets. Okay, have you bought a bucket recently? Buckets cost $15 anyway, right? This is a cool color, thicker plastic, really nice handle. Like when you go buy a bucket, it has that little aluminum handle with a little white thing on top, a bomber handle. Like this is, I want one of these. Look at this little rubberized bottom. Buckets don't have that.
Regular lids don't fit the Yeti bucket, and they don't sell waterproof lids at this time.
Hey, we'll get to that, but I'm just saying, see that little spot right there to put a cam strap? I mean, you could tie this down to your boat through that and feel like it's going to stay in your boat. How are you going to tie a bucket into your raft?
Well, I don't really believe in bringing buckets on river trips in general.
Well, that's just ridiculous, but that's a separate thing. I'm just saying, this is a great bucket. Don't buy it. If you don't want it, don't buy it. But if you want a really nice,
can we move on? Let's move on from the Yeti bucket.
I just want to defend Yeti because people get so. Oh, you were right. He did say it was $40. Like there's $15 anyway. This is just a nice one. Like get over it. They made a great bucket. If you don't want it, don't buy it. And yeah, why is that? They're not making water? I mean, they're not making this for rafters. They're making this for people that want expensive buckets. All right. It's a nice big. Yeah, it'd actually make a great seat. Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like this next comment. $4.98 at Home Depot.
Buckets.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Why? Is it really $4.98? Look it up. And then you have to have this big Home Depot logo on the side. $4.98. This one, this 2-gallon bucket, the 5-gallon one's $7.48.
Yeah, but the 2 gallons are better size for a lot of things. Those 2 gallons are nice.
They're for some things, but they're
great for hand wash. They're a better size for like hand washes and stuff like that because it's an easable, manageable amount of water to carry. I like those smaller buckets. When
I get buckets, I go to Uline and get these. These are better quality buckets, and you can get them by in different colors. So like we use different, like green for food waste, blue for recycling. These are $6.25 each. You got to buy them in quantity. But I would get buckets at Uline.
What do you guys recycle on your trips now?
Depends on the state.
Yeah, exactly.
In Idaho, aluminum. In Oregon, I don't know. I probably glass and everything else. Yeah.
Okay.
But we also do compost on our trips a lot of times, and we do it in buckets. And I have green buckets. And so with these buckets, you can get the Gamma Seal lids. They make them waterproof. Again, they're not waterproof. They're waterproof. The same way the NRS dry bag is waterproof. It's not IPv50 tested like the NRS ones. Yeah, they'll wear out before that. I mean, if you actually use them, they'll wear out really quick. All right, let's move on. Okay, so the loadout, sure. I mean, I'd say it's more waterproof. It's more expensive. Also, it's plastic, so if you fell on it, Aaron, it wouldn't hurt as much as a metal one. Like if you had that dry box in your boat, I'd much rather have that plastic one with rounded corners than an aluminum one with the sharp edges for falling on top of it.
Yeah.
Are you falling asleep?
Yeah. I'm a little bored with. I'm not a big fan of talking about Yeti.
All right. Well, we're done.
You can see my face.
I don't control what people ask us, Aaron.
I don't know. Let's keep moving. Keep it moving.
All right.
Here we are.
This person's trying to design the ultimate pack raft throwback. Are you going to read this one? Why don't you read this one, Aaron?
No, go for it.
I'm trying to read the questions out loud because normally I go, I'm trying to design ultimate. Wonder what it is. And then nobody can understand what I'm saying if they're just listening. So I'm making an attempt to actually read the questions this time.
Go for it.
I'm trying to design the ultimate pack rafting throw bag and wonder if you have a second to ideate with me. Aaron, do you have a second to ideate with him?
Sure, let's do it.
Have the HMG, but don't like how hard it is to stuff. The HMG is the Hyperlight Mountain Gear throwback. This one right here. And it's Aaron, we're gonna get back on that throwback topic and argue some more, I'm sure. But the reason it's hard to stuff is because it has this old school opening that Aaron thinks is plenty big, but it's just not that big. And so getting your hand, my hand barely fits in there. It's a pain to stuff. So, and it's actually kind of a pain to put. It has a waist belt. It's kind of a pain to put in and out of its waist belt. It's fine, but it's kind of a pain. Aaron, have you used Hyperlight stuff before?
We just did a backpacking trip where a friend had a Hyperlight tent, or two Hyperlight tents, and I helped them set them up.
The idea is they make it out of this Dyneema fabric.
Which I hear, which he said, I don't know if this is true, he says it won't mold.
Probably not.
Interesting.
No.
And
It's really cool stuff.
Yeah, he said it won't mold, and I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting. If that's true."
It's light. It's really durable. It's crazy expensive. Like it's expensive fabric. So anyway,
Can't you just use the stuff that they put on sides of buildings instead?
Tyvek
Yeah, isn't it basically Tyvek?
is different than Tyvek. It's more expensive than Tyvek. It's definitely different. Okay, so I have the MHMG, but don't like how hard it is stuff. I agree and think their stuff is crazy expensive, though I know premium rope and premium materials are not cheap. So Hyperlight, let's look up this throwback. Oh, throwback, there we go. I'm gonna add this. So $200. Okay, I can tell you a fact. I did not pay $200. The price just went up. That is like kind of insane. And wow, that is. I did not expect that to happen. And so the river throwback won't weigh you down. So basically, you're getting a good rope. It doesn't say which. Does it say which rope it is? I can't find. I'm sure it's a really good rope. Oh, it's 65 feet of sterling 1/4 inch Spectra.
Are you wanting one that you can use as a hip throw bag, or you just want one to have with? Do you want to wear it around your waist, or do you just want to have one to like have in your boat, ready for a rescue type of scene?
And this one works like fine in the boat. Like it depends. Like when I pack rafted, I'll clip it in the boat with this, which I don't love, but it works. You know how
my NRS hip throw bag is pretty lightweight and easier to stuff than that. But any of the smaller bags, if it's a small bag, it's harder to stuff. And that's the thing. If the bag is smaller, it's harder to stuff. So maybe you can make a bag that's more like this instead of elongated. And then actually your surface area to volume ratio is better, so the bag weighs less.
Sorry, say that again. A bag that's like what? That has like a thinner bottom and thicker top?
If you make a bag that's more of a ball, like bigger in diameter, if the diameter of the bag is bigger.
Got it. So make it shorter.
Make it shorter and fatter. Your surface area to volume ratio is better, so you need less material on the outside, and it'll be easier to stuff your bag.
The only thing is like as a waist belt, if people want to use it as a waist belt, when you want to keep the diameter small, because it's just like it's not so bulky in your back. Yeah. But also like I like throwing this one a lot. Like this fits in my hand really well. When the diameter gets bigger, like if I throw overhand, like if I'm gonna throw underhand, it doesn't matter that much. But this one in my hand feels really good. I like this diameter actually.
Then I'm gonna say another thing about how great the NRS throw bag is. My NRS hip throw bag.
Where is it? Do you have it?
Round.
Why don't you bring it to the show?
On the mainland. It's on the mainland.
You love it that much. You loved it in a different continent.
I might have it. Do you want me to go look for it? I might actually have it. I don't think I do, but
bring it to the show Friday. Bring it to the show Friday. I don't want to get into it right now.
But anyways, the other thing I was going to say about the throw bag is having an oblong throw bag, I think works really well for both those things. Because then you can keep it so it's not puffied out far from your back.
What does oblong mean?
Oblong, like an oval. Like it's shaped like an oval.
Yeah, this is like an oval. Bag. Yeah, this one's like an oval.
Yeah, more of an oval though. Make it like that. That's not an oval. That's round. Yeah, more.
Is that an oval? Aaron, is that an oval? Is that round or is that an oval?
More oval. Make
It's
it
pretty
more
oval.
Yeah.
You just hate
But
on
you
these bags.
understand.
You just the problem.
It's round on top. Look, it's round on top though, Zach. On the top, it's round.
It's pretty oval. You'd be surprised. You just hate on innovation.
It looks round. It doesn't look oval.
You want us to know what's round? This garbage bag. That's round.
That's a great bag.
This is oval. This is round.
Well, that one's designed to go on your hip. The other one isn't. So it should be more oval.
All right.
But the NRS one's better.
You're trolling me again. I'm not going to get sucked into you trolling me
Hey,
again.
NRS, I have my own website. You can sponsor me separately from Zach if you want.
You could. What would be really funny is if you were sponsored by NRS.
That'd be awesome.
The show wasn't, but and then you would
I just
come
wear
in.
NRS gear every day.
You would come in and wear your NRS hat,
tattooed across me here,
and keep talking about how this throw bag is actually not terrible. Okay,
That's
anyway,
great.
so let's get off that topic because this could take the whole show. I think their stuff is crazy expensive. Yeah, it is expensive. It's like Yeti stuff. It's to have like the highest quality materials or workmanship and have it made in the US. You gotta pay money for it. It's unfortunately, but that's the case. And he just says, I know premium rope and premium materials are not cheap. Okay, there's more to this question though. I got my hands on some of the 8.2 millimeter sugar grip with Dyneema core. Normally you can only get from Soul Gear. Have you handled it? So Soul Gear's rope is actually blue water rope. If they don't make the rope, you can just go to Blue Water. Water. I'm just Googling Blue Water rescue rope. It even says on it even says on Soul Gear's website, this is Blue Water rope. You can just buy it from Blue Water. You don't have to go to Soul Gear. I don't know if this is the one, but you can keep searching. Here we go. Sure Grip River Rescue Rope. There you go. You can just buy it from them directly. You don't have to go to Soul Gear. So this is 6.5 mil. I'm sure they have the somewhere. They've got to have that.
Let's keep it moving. If we can get through all this, we're at an hour. We're at an hour.
Okay. So anyway, have I handled it? I have it in this throw bag. This is the Soul Gear throw bag. It is a copy of the ones I like. And I mean, that's good. It feels good. It's nice rope. It sure has a nice grip. That's probably why they call it Sure Grip. It's equivalent to the Sterling. The Sterling ropes, it feels the same. I like handling the ropes inside this one is just the same. So it's all about the same. Have I handled
Except
it?
the NRS rope is better.
Are you kidding me?
We've discussed this.
It's also
stronger.
it's also Sterling rope. It's not
Isn't it
NRS rope.
strong?
It's Sterling rope.
Isn't the NRS Sterling rope better? If I believe.
It's not the NRS Sterling. It's Sterling rope, which is good rope, in the NRS bag, which is not a good bag. Okay. And so the Sterling, I think I have some here. I don't have it here. But the Sterling, they have like a grippy rope too. It's in some of the NRS bags, not all of them. It's not in this bag. This rope is almost impossible to hold on to. Anyway, to answer your question, I have handled the Soul Gear rope. It feels good. Go to Blue Water, and you can get it there. Okay. Whoa, we even got a next question already. Okay. Can we move on? All right. Low water, middle fork of the boat. Low water, middle fork boat selection. What would you take down the middle fork in August? Air 12-foot Wildcat or Air Super Puma? I have a 12-foot Air for Wildcat with custom frame that is a fit for me. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this. I have hundreds of miles on it in low water technical and feel that I am a solid Class 3 boater with good Class 4 experience.
What's the Wildcat? I'm not familiar with the Wildcat.
I'll look it up. I don't know what it is either. 12-foot Air, 12-foot. If you could take any boat down the middle fork of the Salmon at low water, Aaron, what would it be?
The pack raft. I think that'd be fun to do a pack rafting trip at low water on the middle fork.
This is the Wildcat.
I would take the airboat.
It has too much rocker. I
I would take the air raft. I would take the Super Puma.
Yeah.
Because I like storing gear. Multi-day trips in cataracts is messy. Living out of them is messier. I just like to pivot on a raft versus a cataract. Some people prefer cataracts. That's just my preference. Yeah, I mean, you can, and that looks nice though because it's got good clearance along the middle, so you're not gonna hit rocks. So, I mean,
But the cat tubes, the problem with the middle fork isn't narrow channels as much as it's shallow water. And so with those like tubes, they're gonna be sinking down the water more, where a raft will spread it out, you won't be sinking as low. And with all the rocker, the center is gonna be sinking down more than the ends. And so you're gonna be sinking down a lot with this boat at low water. I would not want to take that boat down the middle fork at low water. But to answer your question here, I would take the raft. But if you want to, it also depends. Are you carrying your own gear, or somebody is there like an 18-foot boat on your trip carrying your boat for you?
Zach, they're talking about a low water trip on the middle fork of a private trip in August. They're not taking it. No one's taking an 18-foot raft.
Why not? It's better.
No, they're going to have like 40. Everyone's going to have their own raft, and they're all going to be little rafts. That sounds really fun.
Yeah. So what I see all the time is people showing up with a bunch of 12-foot rafts thinking smaller is better, and they're all loaded to the gills with stuff.
Well, good point. No, you got to go light.
Sinking.
You got to go light. No, definitely.
If you're going to go with a small boat, don't bring a lot of stuff. You don't bring your umbrella. Don't bring your big armchairs. You know, you can't bring 5 Dutch ovens and all the food you want. You can't bring 5 coolers of beer. If you're going to go 12 foot, you're going to go like close to backpacker style. If you want more stuff, bring a bigger boat.
How many people can be on a private middle fork trip?
20, I think.
So just bring 20 boats and then you're okay.
But the thing is, the regulations, you can only have 12 boats on trips after August 10th or something like that because of salmon spawning.
12 boats per trip after August 5th?
I can't remember the date exactly. They used to be August 15th. They just moved it up to like August 10th. So my advice to you is, let's say the same amount of gear. Would you rather have a 12-foot or a 14-foot boat on a low water middle fork?
I see where you're going with this. Yeah, I might prefer 14. I mean, you can even take the 18s down at low water. It's still fun.
An empty 18 will just crush it over your 12-foot that's kind of loaded down a little bit.
No, I agree with that premise. I'm just saying that's not where we're going to go.
So I'm not going to say go low. I mean, I'm not going to say go 12-foot. I'm going to say that's their problem is the 12-foot boats. I'm going to say go 14, 16, 18. I mean, if a sweet boat can make it down at 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
Boat size is not the problem. We just see what we see out there in the field is a private group with like 12-foot boats, and their boats are just loaded to the gills and just sitting deep in the water, and they're just getting stuck in all the shallows.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know my feelings on it. Take less stuff. But I want to see what I want to see, Zach. My dream someday. How many private trips can launch in a day? 3?
How many? On an average day, yeah. I think it's 4.
I want to see a day where all 4 private trips all bring 20 rafts each, and they have 80 private rafts. That would be amazing.
It gets close sometimes.
Wouldn't that be incredible?
I've been around
80 private rafts.
I've been around where it's not 80, but it's pushing 50 or 60.
Really?
Like almost everybody has their own boat.
I want the 80 person. I want the max.
80 person, 80 boats.
That'd be like a world record. You probably get in the Guinness Book of World Records. Most rafts in the put-in for a boundary.
Yeah, there's no Guinness Book of World Records for that. I can also borrow a Super Puma with a sweet frame. I've learned on a Super Puma, which is rough, have rode down the middle fork 1.4 with the mostly clean run. I've heard that cat boats at low flow have more issues with getting stuck because of the lack of surface area. Yeah. Exactly. Dreaming of low water. Yeah, 100%. You're going to do better in a raft than a cat, and you're going to do better in a bigger raft than a smaller raft. Yeah. That's my opinion.
All right.
Okay. Orlock. You've talked about not liking the super stun airlocks because they do not flex and let the oar pop out and cause the oar to break. What is the difference between that and pins and clips that do not let the oar pop out? Okay. So I read this one ahead of time. This is a Super Ston airlock by NRS. And if you have this Orlock, you should throw this away and go. I mean, if you can recycle it, because we shouldn't throw everything away, but you should get rid of this Orlock and get something like this. This is the Sawyer Black Mamba. This is where it's at. Just call Sawyer, say, I want the Black Mamba. This is the gold standard of Orlocks in 2023. Look at this thing. It's beautiful. See how it's shining in the light? This is what you should get. Yeah, and I'm not going to go into these Orlocks right now. But the problem with these Super Stons is that if you have an ore, I had a little handle here just for demonstration, but I lost it. Where'd my little handle go? Anyway, because they don't bend, I was really excited about my demonstration, Aaron. What did I do with the little orange blade? I don't know. Anyway, that sucks. But if the ore is in there and it goes vertical, it will break the ore. And a lot of ores break because these Orlocks don't bend. Whereas like a Sawyer A,
he didn't ask compare the Sawyer A. He understands that part. His question
I'm getting
is
that.
First
The Sawyer A, I'm getting to the background. The Sawyer A bends. This is Sawyer A. These will bend a little bit and let the ore free. Now with pins, he's saying, what's the difference with pins and clips? Because they don't release. There's several differences. I'm going to go through some of these. And Aaron, do you want to start, Aaron, or should I just go into it?
You go for it.
Okay, I've thought about this a bit.
Right.
Okay. I'm just going to start with something that's going to sound super cocky, and you're going to disagree with. But I'll start with that, and we'll get into the other reasons.
All right, let's start with the cocky. Go ahead. I'm ready.
People that run pins and clips are better at rowing.
Oh,
because they have been forced to learn proper oar management, and they don't pull their oars in. They ship correctly because the limitations of pins and clips make people better at managing oars. That's number one. Number two is when you're rowing pins and clips, the oar blade is always straight up and down. And so if you drop your oar in the water, it's not going to twist. Or if you let go of it, it's not going to twist. Whereas if you have a spinny, you let go of it, what it might do is catch water and twist, and the force of the water will either pop it out or break it. So like if you're rowing pins and clips, you can jam an oar in a rock, but it will pop it out because it will come out of the thing.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Yeah, it will usually pop out. Whereas what happens with spinnies is the blade turns sideways, they catch water, and that's what. And if you have this one, the oar just pops out. If you have this one, the oar may break, and they break actually more often than people know. With the NRS one.
So in general, when your oar's in the water with the spinnies, when it gets turned sideways, the force is pushing it down this way. It's catching current and wrapping it underneath your boat. With the pins and clips, when it gets in the water, if it hits a rock, the rock is hitting it and it's pushing it this way and it pops it out most of the time. Sometimes if you get really deep, you can catch it enough that it'll go like this, but it's much more rare. And like Zach said, if you let go of your oar with pins and clips, it'll swing forward or swing back usually. It doesn't get caught and pulled underneath in the same manner. Yeah.
And so to just finish this, and to go back to my beginning thing, people who row pins and clips like have really good habits. They don't let go of their oars that much. They're shipping. Their oars are typically in their hand because when the boat gets jostled, they get thrown, but they hold on to their oar in place. The oar stays in place. They learn to not let go of their oars, row all the time, oar manage. People that row spinnies, they let go of their oars a lot. And watch videos of good people that row, and you'll see the spinny guys are letting go a lot because they don't have that oar management. And if they get thrown, the oar is not keeping them in. So
it's harder to hold. It's harder to hold on the spinnies too.
It's harder to hold on spinnies. They're moving around a little bit, and so like
and they spin and they catch water and they get yanked out of your hand more often.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like.
So when I row pins and clips, I feel like I'm locked in like a sports car in a way. I'm just like locked in. It's solid. When I'm running spinnies, I'm a little bit loose. It's like the tie rods are loose. I'm a little loose, and I'm going to be cocky about this because I've many times rowed one spinny, one Orlock to tell the difference, and I find my Orlock does catch water a lot and do funny things. And so, from experience, I'm going to answer this question. That's what happens. And so the difference between pins and clips that do not let the oar pop out. They do pop out this way. They just don't pop out the way that breaks them with the super strong Orlocks. Aaron, before we move on, do you want to defend NRS, your future sponsor, and their Orlocks that break oars?
I think they work. I think those oars would work well with the rights. Those locks work well with rights.
Yeah, because you don't have to worry about them spinning, catching water, and breaking.
So I don't think if you're wearing them with rights, I wouldn't really worry too much about it.
It's a good point. That's a very astute point. So what you're saying is the people that are NRS rowers should run rights.
I think a lot more people should run rights anyways.
Yeah. Oh, I have to buy a bunch of rights right now. Okay, I can write that down. Buy rights. When I'm traveling away from home and not wanting to take a raft with me, I am happy to pay for a guided trip to see new rivers. Sweet. The frustration I have is in the way that guides have ran the boats. The whole 2 strokes forward and stop is frustrating. It makes me feel like a little kid in having training wheels put back on. What is the best way to express or show that I've experienced running rivers so that is a more collaborative experience?
Good luck. Well, I will say my favorite thing to do is the paddle at will command. So you got to find someone. Does anyone here like the paddle at will command, where you just let anyone do whatever stroke they want whenever they want? It's a really fun way to run rivers, and I agree with you. The 2 strokes forward and stop is a little annoying at times, but most guides, it's easier for a lot of guys just don't have the skills to do that too. I think it's more challenging to do paddle at will and just be able to adjust on the fly. You really got to know what you're doing. And so for a lot of them, they're not at that spot.
I mean, do you think this guy would enjoy it more if the guide was like, just go paddle and we'll figure it out?
Yeah, I think he would. Cause like I used to do that with the kids all the time. Like I used to do that all the time. I do paddle at will and tell them where we want to go, to kind of teach them how to do draws and different strokes. And the one rule we had is no one could tell anyone else what stroke to do, but you could talk about where you wanted the boat to go. And so everyone talked together about where they want the boat. And with the kids, it would get to the point where I would just stuff my paddle in the back of the boat and just sit down in the back of the boat, and they'd paddle the boat down the river, and I wouldn't do anything. It was great. We'd run class 2+, and they'd be like, fine, okay, let's go. And they would.
Do you think this guy's problem is the 2 strokes forward, just that, or he just doesn't want to sit in a paddle boat and be told what to do?
No, I think he wants to be more part of the river running aspect of it. I don't mind the 2 strokes forward and the stop and stuff like that. I don't know why you just like it. I think it's a great opportunity to see how someone else runs the raft. And I'll say teaching guide schools, I've taught a lot of guide schools. Usually I don't say anything. I just do whatever they say to the best of my ability. I don't even run, and I'll get on the other students in the boat when they're like, pause. I'm like, no, we do exactly what they say. And sometimes they'll be like forward and straight in a rock. And yeah, I just paddle harder sometimes. And I'll just like, okay, here we go. Ram into the rock and just be like, all right.
That's what you're supposed to do in a guide school.
Well, but my point is even when you have that opportunity, you're paddling for someone else, and you think it's going weird, it's an opportunity to see how they run it and to like take mental notes, like, oh, this is another way to do things. And then they'll do things you're like, oh, this isn't going to work. And then you're like, oh, whoa, that worked. Even I have with the students all the time too. Like, oh, we're screwed. And I'm like, oh, that worked out. So I would say you're not going to get the guys to change, but I would maybe take a different attitude about it. Like, this is an opportunity to see how someone else guides the river and guides the boat and what they do and how they do it. And like, yeah, I mean, because like you're not going to get them, and I don't see a way to say. I mean, the only thing maybe if you and your buddy up front, you've got you and your friend are in the front of the boat. You're like, hey, do you mind if we just kind of paddle the boat down the river in the flat water? And the guy will probably be like, yeah, sure, fine, go whatever. And you might be able to build up over time that way just by volunteering to paddle when you don't need to paddle, and then paddle from the front, something like that. That's my best thought. What are you about yours, Zach?
Well, I think this guy, my guess, it's hard to tell from this text of what he's asking. My guess is he doesn't want to get treated like a guest in the paddle boat. He has some experience, so he wants to have his experience be respected on the trip a little bit instead of just like, hey, you stand in line. I need to buckle your PFD. He doesn't want to be treated like a normal rafting guest. I think the 2 strokes forward thing is just like an example of like he's just like forward 2 stop, forward 2 stop. And so I think, and when he asks, what's the best way to express or show that he has experience running rivers? So it's a more collaborative experience. I think, first of all, commercial guides aren't like trained. They're trained to take people who don't know much down a river safely. They're not trained how to like handle people with experience and make sure they have a good time. And we're talking, this is like 0.5% of the total population. So unfortunately, the system isn't set up for you to have the best day of your life because you know what you're doing. It's just not the companies are not set up to create this environment.
I just go back and my friends like Adam Crom, I mean, not a better guy out there. He went and signed up for a rafting trip when they went down to Costa Rica, and he's like, "Yeah, it was awesome. I didn't tell him I knew anything. I just went in there as was a dude and just like listened to the whole thing, was part of it, and just watched the whole scene from that perspective." He said it was fantastic. Just paddled, had a great time, got to see the river, got to enjoy myself.
Yeah,
and just like and that's the whole point of it. I think it's like,
I mean, I think it depends.
It's like you're not gonna get that from them. First of all,
and it depends on the trip you're on.
And I'm gonna say this: the more you want that from them, the more they're going to think you don't have very much experience because you need it validated, which is kind of, if that makes any sense. It's like the people who really want it to be validated, they're going to be like, oh, they're actually not that good. If you don't care, they'll probably recognize it more so and they'll figure it out. And if they don't figure it out, they're probably so oblivious that it doesn't really matter that they're not going to figure it out. That's the thing. And I think that was kind of Adam's feelings. Like, whatever, man. He's like, yeah, the person was, and like, it was okay, guy, whatever. It wasn't great or anything like that. It was fun. We had a great time. And yeah, I mean, I think you just embrace it. Like, hey, I'm here to see the river, have a good time. And maybe I'll see something that I haven't seen before or see some way of doing things I haven't seen before. But to want them to acknowledge your experience is, I mean, I'd say the way to do it, if you really want to, is just to talk to the person. Just say, oh, yeah, where have you guided? What have you done? And just ask some questions of them and their experience and what they've been doing and where they've done it and what they like about this river and how it is at different flows.
You're talking about asking the guide that.
They ask those questions.
Ask the guide those questions.
If you ask the right type of questions, I think you'll show that you have experience. But you're cool about it. And you're just like, oh, yeah, so, how's this changed during the season? Or, oh, is that the normal line you guys always do? Or,
yeah,
like,
I mean, I think he just wants to feel like he's a part of the trip. Let me answer what I think. I'm going to break in, Aaron. Sorry. I just feel
Go for it.
I feel like you were going on some weird tangents there. I think if you go on like a class 3 trip where there's like a bazillion boats and the guides are like not that well trained and not that great, you're gonna get what it is. You're going to see the river and you just kind of deal with that. If you went and did Cherry Creek, it would blow your mind. You'd be like, whoa, I'm learning a ton every second of the way. And so I think the more difficult and more unique the trip is, I think the more you would enjoy that experience. If you're just doing something within your skill level where you're probably better than the guide, actually, and you're with some guide who's like their second year and you've seen a bunch of stuff and you're being told what to do by somebody you don't really respect, that could be frustrating. I could get frustrated by that. But if you went and did something really challenging or unique, there'd be something to get experience. I want to say we get people ask us all the time if they can row their boats along the Middle Fork, along the Illinois, along the road trip. And I do a lot of private boating and I boat a lot. And so I can speak the language. Like I can talk to somebody and I can figure out if they're full of it or not. And people lie to me all the time about how much experience they have. And I'm like, but once I start talking to them, I can sort it out, right? Most raft company owners or managers or people in the office, they can't sort it out. If you tell them like, I'm a class 5 kayaker, they've been told that before and lied to. And so they're just like, no, we don't do that. We've had enough disasters with private boaters coming and helping with the trip where like, because I feel like I am in that world more, I can usually suss it out pretty easy. So I think it depends on the company. And if some don't let you do it, that's just because they're not set up for it.
Well,
that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think it's just a tough spot. Yeah. There's a lot of comments. We kind of go back because I don't even understand some of the comments.
I mean, this is actually, let's get to the comments in a second, but this is actually really similar if we go back to Todd's thing earlier, where like what this person really wants is to go like not just sit in a paddle boat or maybe like they let him ducky along a trip, but he wants to go see rivers and find a guide who can like make the trip really special for him.
He wants to be more like a climbing trip than a rafting trip.
Yeah, and that's just
You know,
that model.
you're like you and I'm your guide. We're going climbing together, and we're working on this together.
Yeah. So that unfortunately that doesn't exist. In terms of questions, let's get to this one really quick. If you mirror polish the Cobras, do not use Cobras. They just don't. Cobras are old news. Black Mambas. It's 2013, baby. Go with the Black Mambas. All right. Or go with the A's. Do not use Cobras. Do not use NRS.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
All right.
Go back up. What was the 24 thing about up there?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah. I think it was Thomas had some good points. The big tubes float hard. I don't know, whatever.
I think we killed that one. I mean, we're past that question. Seems like that would come down to putting a request at the time of reservation. We used to have a guide request system, and the booker could choose a guide that could handle the request. Yeah, you could just say, "Hey, I'm a badass. Put me with somebody who's going to make me feel good about myself, or like somebody who's going to let me guide a little bit, or let me row, or I don't know who knows what."
Yeah, and I guess what do you want out of that? Like, what do you want out of the experience?
But recognize not every company is set up to handle what you're asking them for. We're just not. I think that's pretty true.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you're seeing the place, like do the forward two. Oh man, come on, Corey, what's up? What about what? Are we talking about?
No, what I said, because he was talking about what I was talking about with the trip. Just kind of go in there and just enjoy it. And I think everything I said was applicable. Ask questions if you want to seem knowledgeable. Ask thoughtful questions that show you understand the situation and you understand what's going on, and you're curious about like the nuances of what they're doing. I think that's a good way to show if you want to show your experience, that's a way to show your experiences. It's like try to learn about their student, about what they're doing, about what that guide's doing in a positive way. Like you're trying to learn from them, but you're asking questions that like, oh, okay, you've done some rafting. And then they'll ask you, somebody, oh, have you done some rafting? Like, yeah, done this, oh, cool. And then, yeah, I think that's the way to get in there if you do want to do that. But I think you're better off just like I said, just being the robot paddler and just like if they're screwing up and calling it back in, just dig with joy and see what happens. If you're like, oh, this is a bad idea, just paddle hard, do whatever they do to the best of your ability, and then see what happens. Because you might learn something, or you might end up in the river. Like, okay, well, yeah, hey, that's part of it. So.
This is our last question, by the way, so we can go through comments, just so you know. I think I was just thinking about a trip last year where a woman was on the trip with her family, and she's like, hey, by the way, like back in the day, I was a guide on the Food LeFou and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, damn, badass. And she was just super chill and cool. She was just like, yeah, I just want to be a paddle boat. I just want to see the place. I'm here to share this place with my kids. And I was super intimidated because I'm like, man, we really have to impress her. She's seen a lot of cool stuff, and it worked out great. And she was also very chill. If she was constantly judging us, it would have made me insecure on the trip. What are you smiling at?
Okay.
Maybe Zach came up with the price and trip and let him pay to R2. It would be like hiring a private kayak guide. Yeah, I mean, I do private classes like this. Like I said, I'm doing one in a week where it's just me and somebody go boating. It's just expensive. I mean, it's really expensive.
I'm wondering, is there a model for R2? You remember that R2 trip they used to do on Cache Creek?
Was that? Oh yeah. Was that an R2 trip?
Yeah, it was a 2-day trip, and they would run 2 days. Mother was one of it. It was a class 3 rapid, but they would just give everyone a 2-person bucket boat with a bucket, a little 12-foot boat, and they'd send you down. We did this when we were kids multiple times. Super fun. And then they just have like a guide at the big rapids to tell people what to do at the top. Like you get to Mother, like, okay, hold on, let's make sure that.
They put 2 people in a boat. But not one of them's not a guide. It's just 2 people.
Yeah,
but there'd be a guide standing there. It's like, hey, go down the. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, certain spots. That would be really fun. I think that would be a great way to run rivers. Like on the South Fork, just give everyone R2 rafts and just have guides stationed along the river. That'd be hilarious. Oh my goodness.
A lot of people have come up with this idea of R2 guiding, where like a really good guide R2s with you and takes you on some cool places. It's been it's been brought up a lot in the past few years. The big problem is it's just really expensive. It's going to cost a lot of money because that we have to pay that guide, and it's an entire the equipment tied up is expensive. Like you have a
no, that's why
$4,000
you need it. You need someone who's sole proprietor doing something like that. Has their own raft, goes in and does it.
It's just I'm just saying it's expensive. People don't understand why it's so expensive. It's just
they do a rock climbing.
Yeah, the difference with rock climbing is you own a
They do
harness and
fishing.
shoes and you climb up some rock. The difference with rafting is a raft is a $5,000 raft with
They
a
do
frame.
it fishing. They do it fishing.
And people
do
pay a
fishing.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
people that fish pay a lot. So it would just be very expensive. It's way more expensive than you think. You have to transport the equipment. You have to warehouse the equipment. You have to insure the equipment. The cost of running anything like this is so expensive. That's why they want to put 6 people in a raft.
No, but that's a great thing about those little. They had these junky old bucket boats, and they would it's like the Ron's Rent a Raft type of thing, and they would just
On the
send them down.
Cache Creek. Yeah, but Aaron, if I'm like, hey, I need you to guide this R2 trip today, your questions to me are, how much am I getting paid? How long am I going to be out there? And how good is the equipment? And I'm going to say you're getting paid nothing. You can be out there for like 12 hours, plus you have to drive back and forth, and the equipment sucks. You'd be like, I'm out. I'm not going to do that.
No, I'm just saying you do like a little 4-mile stretch. You just take a trailer full of rafts up to the put in every day. You have one kid who pumps them up and just gives them to people, and they take it down and run down. And you have a trailer at the end. They just deflate them on the trailer. The next day you drive back up, and it's self-guided.
No, I get that. So you want this person doesn't want self-guided rafting, I don't think.
I think he would though, because he sounds like he just doesn't want to drive around with all this gear.
No, and it works on Cache Creek too, because Cache Creek is class 2.
Well, that's
maybe
pretty
class
hard.
3, but like whatever. Anyway, let's get these comments.
Lots of comments.
The average float day is $600 a day for twingles.
Yep.
Yeah, people. That's a lot of rafters. People that pay for rafting, some will pay that much, but it's not very common. Let me get back up here. Yeah, if a passenger is any good at boating, it will show itself eventually, whether in conversation or on the water. I agree with Johnny SR. Just paddle, let the ego. Yeah, just go.
Good point. Yeah, totally agree.
I think good guides will pick up on the strengths and weaknesses of their guests. Yeah, I mean, if you have a good guide, if you have an Aaron Cavagnolo on the boat, you're gonna have a great time. If you go to random Class 3 river in your big city, you're not getting Aaron Cavagnolo. You're getting
but I'm going to say this: you might have a better time. I remember my first commercial trip ever. Nanette Begovic, you remember Nanette and I were guiding a trip together. It was both our first trip, and I styled all my lines, and she had a mess of a day. She lost her paddle at Fowler's Rock and was guiding without holding onto a paddle, and they were like all over the place. The people on the boat had way more fun that day than people on my boat.
Because you were just perfect. Like I had perfect lines.
No, I'm not gonna say it wasn't as exciting, but it was kind of funny to look over and I'm like, man, and that people had way more fun than my people had.
If you want an adventure, if you want to go on a rafting trip and have an adventure, you don't want a Class 5 guide because they will just style it all. You'll paddle some, but you want the new guide who's bouncing off rocks, who's almost rapping. I mean, it's an adventure.
I mean, that's exactly like there's
definitely something to that.
Or you could, when you call, so you could request a good person, or like you meet the crappiest person you got.
But the difference is like a good guide. There's a good skills guide and a good people person guide. And a good people person guide it'll come out that you're experienced. We're like, oh, sweet, let's put you in the front. And then they might guide a little different to like take advantage of your strengths, or like, hey, why don't you guide a couple rapids, or that. A good guide will like make sure they stoke you out.
I agree.
It's just not everybody is a good guide out there.
But the memorable trips are the trips where stuff goes.
Of course, absolutely. That one time, well, if it's really bad, it's memorable, but it's a bad memory, and people never come back. So you don't remember the trips where nothing happened. You remember the trips where it rained for 3 days. And the water came up, and one of the boats floated away, and yeah, I had a great experience on a gully trip, and our guide gave us more freedom based on our actions. Yeah, it's cool. It depends on the guide. As a guide, I wouldn't be the most excited about someone trying to row my boat or tell me how good they are.
Oh, totally. Yep.
Yeah, but I think what we're talking about, I mean,
I'm agree that this is a turnoff as a guide. Like you don't want to hear that. Just like, I mean, that's not a way to do.
I definitely don't want somebody telling me how to row my boat. That's for sure. Like, hey, maybe you should have got more left there. Like, why are you using NRS Super Strongs when you could get back Black Mamas? That would be frustrating. My least favorite trip ever was taking somebody who thought they knew everything about rafting. Hey, I've worked with Aaron before. It's the worst. He just constantly thinks he knows everything about rafting. That joke didn't land. How about the Food LeFou? Oh, yeah. Aaron, you want to take that one?
Go R2 the Food Le Fou? No, not happening. Not at this point in my life. No.
The Fou is an expensive place to run trips.
I mean,
in South Africa, they purposefully flip boats to make it more fun. It's becoming definitely an international standard among guides to no more purposefully flipping boats. There's been a few accidents, and that's starting to not be the standard.
oh really? I'm sure it still happens.
It still happens.
Or it wasn't purposeful, but oops, yeah, we flipped.
No, the trend is towards guides who don't flip. There's definitely a trend towards being safer, more responsible. Uber Lyft business model for rafting guides sounds awesome. Would that work?
Yeah, that would be super fun.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Poor Aaron. There's probably shows a little picture of you there. What's this referring to?
Not going to the Food Le Fou, I guess. I would love to go back down there, but it's a long ways to go, actually.
It's a long way.
I mean, I really enjoy working trips down there, but I'm there's a lot of places I'd rather go back and do another Franklin trip just because the logistics on it are easier and like you're just I'd rather get away from people. So,
Aaron, the cops are coming for you.
yeah, you can hear them in the background. I live in the city. So, all right, is that it?
That's it. We answered all the questions. We answered all the comments. We did this in less than 2 hours.
Good, because I got to go pick up my kids. So
Can I tell you about the Friday show really quick, and then we'll
yes, please tell me. What are we doing on Friday?
Well, so remember how we did the best practices questionnaire last Friday, and we went over it, and we just argued the whole time. I have worked on rewriting the best practices questionnaire. So based on our conversation. And so in the spirit of like getting an even better version, and Steve's going to be here. We'll have a Steve corner. So we'll have Steve on the show Friday. I thought we would review my new updated best practices questionnaire with Steve. And then if we feel like it's ready, and I'm fixing the questions based on a conversation, but we'll go through it one more time. And then if we feel like it's ready, we'll put the new one out to the world to collect more data. How's that sound?
That sounds great. Sounds like
I also have this idea where I want to go out in my yard and throw bags live.
Why?
To talk about them. Like throw one, you can see how it goes. Hey, I won't do it then. Dude, sorry.
I don't understand the advantage of doing it live.
Because we can interact. People can say, throw this bag, throw that bag. And when you throw it, like the one thing about throwing a bag live is there's a lot of pressure to have a good throw. You know, when you're like,
it's just because you're confident now because you've done so much practicing, you're ready to show off your skills.
I'm not, Aaron. I'm confident, but
Yeah,
I'll make mistakes.
For Zach to show how good he is at throwing.
But I can also stuff bags, and we can talk. Anyway, it's something I thought about. But hey, if you think it's silly, whatever, do it. Zach was saying Aaron knows it all. Yeah, Aaron definitely thinks he knows it all.
Thanks, guys.
Zoo Raft flips their boats often on the white salmon at the picnic spot. There's a sweet move here, Aaron. You don't know this spot, but you can catch this eddy. I forget how you do it. I think you have all your guests over right, and it will flip. Because it's such
so people are still flipping boats. See
what?
So people are still flipping boats. You go to the downstream side as you catch the eddy.
I mean, people are still doing it. That doesn't mean but it's becoming more and more around the world. Best practices and not flip your own boat. It's becoming a standard.
Now you're just telling me how to flip a boat.
But it's really cool. You come in, it's really fun. Because on the white salmon, they use like smaller boats. So it's a pretty strong eddy line. So you paddle down, you come in at just the right speed, and as it starts to catch water, you make everybody over right. and it goes bam in a big pool where they have lunch. It's pretty cool. I did it once a long time ago. Can we see a copy of the questions ahead of time? I don't know.
Yeah, they want to be able to stay for the test. They want to prep.
I don't know how to get them to you. I don't know. We'll see. They're the same. They're just a little different. But during the meeting, during the Friday thing, we'll change them. For your throwback live, consider placing a camera. That's what I'm thinking, Aaron. Check it out. There's a little tire hanging. I'll put one camera behind it, so it catches the throwback, maybe go through the tire, and the one by me I can talk to. This sounds innovative, Aaron.
Oh, it sounds like I'm putting me to sleep. Yeah, that's putting me to sleep.
Oh, well, Sean disagrees with you. Best practice is not to go rafting. Yeah.
Yep, that's best practices.
Well, Aaron, do you want to shut this thing down?
Oh, hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in. That was a bunch of you on here. Great question. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Friday. Have a good one.
Yeah, Willie, we were here way too long.